Yo, what is good, Adam? How's everyone doing today? What's up, dog father, man? How are you guys doing? Hold on.
We got the reverb going on, man. This is technical challenges as normal, man. It's probably me. If you guys don't know, I'm down on, I wouldn't call it vacation because I've been working the whole time, but I'm down at the beach in Manuel Antonio right now. Just living the dream, as they say, working 12-hour days from my deck. How's it going, man?
Dude, 12-hour days is an understatement of what the last week
I wish for 12-hour days, bro.
Oh man, dude, it's been quite a long journey, and I think we'll dissect a lot of that today. BRC20s, migrations. Oh man, dude, I was on a Spaces this week with Dogfather. We had the whole Doge community together for the first time. That was kind of cool. Dogfather, what were your thoughts on that, man? That was kind of fun. You might want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I was
good.
Yeah, is it working now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So sorry, there was some issue. No, that was really cool on Monday. So I was DMing a few Doge Party people, OG ones and new ones. I was reaching out to the Dogecoin community where we have Doge Mom doing really cool stuff there with tipping and sending people Doge Party assets. Then the Dogenal crowd and the DRC20 crowd was there. So all the new guns, right? They were really eager to come. So and you guys were around talking about Emblem Vault and curated collections and Doge Party. So that was really cool. So thanks for coming, and yeah, in particular in this busy week. So highly appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, it was a real fun time, real conversation. The DRC20 communities kind of pick it up a little bit. It seems a little bit more infrastructure. I was kind of sad to see that there was a marketplace that had added 10% service fees. I was like, holy Jesus, that is wild.
10%. Which one was that? So I know not to go to it.
Yeah, it's I think I forget what it's called. But they're the only ones. So I guess they get to set the price, right? I guess if you're a monopoly, you set the price. You have no, yeah.
Dude, why not set it to 30? If you're Apple, just set it to 30 and destroy everyone. That's the game.
Yeah, go ahead, Dogfather.
Hey guys, is a plan good? The more you charge, the better the marketplace is, man. Economics 101. That's it. I mean, you're right, Adam. Next time, charge 30. No, I mean, they were really early and they had, just some OTC trading, and so they started with 10, and I was like, wow, reacting to your tweet, Jake, and they were like, okay, we do 5%.
5% for only 24 hours, they did.
Oh, yeah. They gave everybody a break for a day of 5%. That's the break. Hey,
that was the break. Yeah, that was the break. Thank you, everyone, for coming, too. Make sure you retweet the Spaces up to the top to make sure we get some more people in here. I know it's Friday. We always have a lot of competition here, but we get to recap, right? To have a lot of fun. Yeah, DRC20. Actually, I had a few DRC20 community members ask about a DRC20 curated collection. And I was like, man, let us get there first. Holy Jesus.
Dude, I saw, you probably saw it too. It's like when Dogenal. So I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I think I tweeted to you or sent you a message that I saw earlier today at like 6 in the morning. I was up at like 6 here, which I don't know what time it is in China, but there were like 800 or 900 people in a Chinese space talking about LTC 20s. Mm-hmm. So the attention is all over the place right now. It's kind of crazy.
I think NFTs on ETH are just historically down bad. PFP community is just in shambles. It looks like it's starting to, the BTC ordinals are starting to correct a little bit too. I saw OMB was down from 0.4. Now it's like under 0.3. I think that's going to actually go a little bit lower. BRC20s are just down bad as well. It's funny because, and I guess we could just talk about the BRC20 launch yesterday. When we'd first talked with BitGod 2 weeks ago, the OXBT price was 10 cents, and now it's down to 5 cents. And because of that, it's affected vaulting because that arbitrage opportunity is pretty much gone now at this point. Because everyone's like, why only $100 a vault? And we're like, well, when we first talked, it was $200 per vault, right? And so we were like, that's a fair amount for like early kind of participants. And at the time, right, you had the gas fees $5, and then you have $20 vaulting fee or $10. There's still a huge arbitrage opportunity there. But now as it's down to $100, right? There's no incentive for people really to move it over. At least,
bro, the best laid plans, my man. Right? It's like, you know, should we have set it 5 times that high, or you do the best you can. You do the best and hope for the best, right? It's like sometimes these, and we hit it also in the middle of Blur FUD. I mean, it's so funny. Like this week has been Blur's awful week, Blur's terrible. It's like, how did that happen just this week? Like what happened to the previous year? Like, did we not see what was happening on Blur for the previous year? But for whatever reason, people started questioning what was going on Blur. Is this ethical? Is this why all the floor prices are crashing? And had a lot of discussions with Trevor about that and stuff, which I'm not completely convinced. I think it definitely has an effect, but I don't believe it's the main reason. I think it's just NFTs down bad and nobody wants to buy a falling knife, right? And so who knows where this bottom may go.
Yeah, I'm not convinced Blur is the main component of all PFP prices just going down astronomically. I mean, there's definitely a lot of leverage in the system. I think the Blend, which is like their loan platform, definitely had a component of that unwinding, especially with Azuki. But it's just there's just not as many people in the ecosystem, and also on ETH, a lot of people moved over to Bitcoin too, right? Like I think a lot of the ETH heads kind of deny this, but Bitcoin NFT volume is actually higher than ETH NFT volume, right? It's just a lot of people, the money's moved, the leverage was at highs, and right, the PFPs have to suffer from that. So for the BRC20 collection, I guess just like a recap, right? Looking at it now, it's been I think like 12 hours or 16 hours. Not a crazy amount of traction. We got like one ORDI vault, which is the one that I vaulted.
It's literally, I'm like, wait a minute, this is nonsense. But the nonsense is that people don't see the value of it, right? It's complete market dynamics, which I totally get, right? If they're down bad, why would they spend $20 to vault it over to, or $15 or whatever it may be, or $5, even pay the gas if there isn't a vibrant marketplace over there yet, right? Like I get it. This is just like, this is the way humans work, right? We're all out for our best interests. And unless there's a legitimate value over there, people just aren't going to do it. Trust me, if Blur starts picking up, they'll do it in a second, right? The moment they feel like they could, make money at this, it's game on, right? So maybe that happens tomorrow, today, next week, maybe never, right? But anyway, it's there now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of things we could do on Emblem side. There's also a handful of things from the community, and we could kind of diagnose it. I mean, we got time. If anyone also wants to come up here and chat about it, happy to. So right now we have, I think it's about 120 OXBT vaults. You got one ORDI vault. I know Domo is going to create a lot of vaults this weekend. He said the thing there is, right, so I'm kind of tracking the liquidity amount. That's kind of where the incentive is, right? Blur farmers are going to go where there's liquidity. Users are going to go where there's liquidity. So right now you have one ORDI vault that's worth $1,200, and then you have 120 OXBT vaults that's worth about, what, 12 grand or so, because they're $100 a piece. Literally, if Domo creates 5 vaults, right now it's just matching, kind of. It's literally the same amount of what OXBT is. So you have kind of this treasury reserve, you have the community reserve. As we mentioned, the kind of spread has fallen. So the goal now is, how do you get vaults? How do you get liquidity onto Blur to prepare for whenever that momentum does pick back up? Because we've seen this time and time again. When there is liquidity and when there is volume, people will use it. It's just, and they'll probably pay what the $20 fee or whatever it is once that starts picking up. So, right, you have Domo that's going to vault. I went into the OXBT community to ask kind of what the issue was. The one thing they said was that the first thing I noticed is that they weren't interested because of that spread was kind of taken away. they're also a little confused about it. People still still believe that this is like an ETH NFT of sorts, right? So I don't know if we're ever going to be able to get past that. maybe one day when Emblem is just like, you know, full front and center. And then the vaulting pass, people seem to be very confused about that. So maybe that backfired in our face a little bit. It definitely brought the attention. That's undeniable. I've never seen, we were talking about this in the Emblem chat. I've never seen this amount of attention from exchanges, marketplaces, protocols, community engagement. Like the Emblem account's up like 8,000 followers this week or the last 2 weeks, to then no activity. Like it was just, you kind of wonder like what really kind of happened there.
Bro, at the end of the day, you can never predict these sort of things, man. And, you know, these are individual actors, right? Everybody's just one person. And, you know, people just looked at it and go, until there's volume there. Why? I just think, look, if the floor was getting swept today on Blur, people would move over immediately. But there isn't, that hasn't happened. And so everybody's just in holding pattern mode. Just so you, maybe Jake, you want to run into it, but just so everybody knows with that vault pass, if you don't know if you got one or not, just check on OpenSea, maybe hit the, you know, the hidden tab on OpenSea, and you'll be able to check if you have one there. So it should be pretty clear if you won one.
Yeah, I also have a few left as well. So if there's anyone in the crowd that wants one, basically all the vaulting passes, you don't have to pay the $20 fee that's associated with vaulting. So I have some left. We could pass them out. Maybe we have to spin up more. Turns out, right, we passed out 300 or 400 of them, and there's like 4 people who used them, which is kind of the same. So it works well for marketing. It definitely gets the attention. Like we've been reached out to by pretty big exchanges and NFT marketplaces showing interest. But yeah, users just want NFTs and they just want tokens, even if it has no utility. It's so funny looking at doing those giveaways and people literally have no idea what it is. They just want it. Kind of funny. But again, I guess
people love free, dude. Anything for free, they're in.
And then from the Emblem side, there's 2 improvements that we could do, which I think will also dramatically improve liquidity and a use case. So what we've learned through this is now our 5th product launch together. It's crazy to think. The Emblem Test, Rare Pepe, and SOG, e-scriptions, Curse Ordinals, and this one. The 2 things that come to mind that users want is they want things to be time efficient and they want to make money, right? So if the liquidity is not there, then it needs to be time efficient and simple. So our new UI that's going to come out in a few weeks, I think will dramatically improve it, also because it works on mobile as well, right? So we're kind of like boxed in. And then the bulk minting tool, I know I've been talking about it forever, but that was a big consideration. Even people in our Discord and also in the OXBT Discord, they want to be able to mint 20 vaults in one transaction and then be able to copy all those addresses in one sweep and send it through a multi-send tool, which I don't blame them, man. I would like to also, I have like a grip of OXBT. I would like to do that all in one transaction. So I think if people could start minting 100 vault at a time, I think that would also dramatically improve liquidity.
For sure. I think actually the funny thing was with this, I mean, we've got this pretty seamless. It's fast to create a vault, but the time is in Bitcoin, right? You send it and it's like, okay, am I going to wait 30 minutes, 40 minutes before I can finalize and actually mint the vault? Because you're just waiting for the, you know, BRC20 to hit the vault, which is pretty, it's nice that we're not the slow point anymore.
Yeah. The big difference you notice is like the last product we had was ETH scriptions. It took literally 30 seconds to make a vault because you're running on Ethereum time. It takes about 30 seconds to create the vault. And then it took about another 30 seconds to send the ETH scription to the vault. And then another like 15 seconds to mint it. So it was just like so much more seamless here. I waited until we publicly launched it to test it out. It took me about 10 to 15 minutes for a few of them. But also I could set up multiple of them and send them. So I did 4 in 15 minutes. But
well, you caught a nice block time then too, obviously.
The sats per VByte last night was 5. I hadn't seen it that low in a long time. So bulk minting tool. Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. But the cool part here is this was the first time that we had used or implemented ERC 721A into a contract. Huge, dramatic improvement. Like we minted I think 100 vaults for like $300 to $400, right? So the more that you mint, the cheaper it actually gets with the RC721A, which was the standard that was created by Azuki. So once we get that down, I think not only for just BRC20s, but for rare Pepes, for fake rares, for counterparty, for Doge Party, it'll be a huge dramatic improvement. And
yeah,
then,
dude, $3 or $4 a vault is amazing.
Yeah, for gas fees, right? And then maybe we create something where if you are bulk minting, then the gas or the vaulting fees also come down because it's like a bulk sale. So yeah, we can figure that out. The interest though is definitely still high. I think we still have about 10 different BRC20 teams that are still interested, and some more even reached out to us. So will be interesting to see where that conversation goes. But we got a call also with BitGod, so we're going to strategize, come back. It's not the end of the world per se. I know a lot of people like to give up if something just doesn't have a rocket ship right at the beginning, but I think when you're building a product versus a project, right? So if you're Emblem Vault infrastructure versus the DGods community, which is a project, products generally don't manufacture hype immediately. It's generally a gradual increase in the technology. And projects, they need to have that hype at that launch, or else it's dead in the water.
Yeah, people have already reached out to us, like, chicken egg situation, right? It's like, you need the vaults there to get the liquidity, to get the volume, to attract the vaults, So, part of me is very hopeful that, it will work eventually. It doesn't have to work on day one. But we'll see, keep grinding.
Lots of interest. Go ahead, Dogfather.
Yeah, one dimension people are not talking much about with these, Blur and OpenSea, OXBT and ORDI collection is that you can place bids, right? I mean, there's no BTC native marketplace where you can place bids yet. So that's, I think, pretty cool, because you can try to suck them, down to what you're paying for. And was just checking Blur at the moment. So there seems to be one-day volume of 1.12 in OXBT. So there have been a few sales. So compared to OpenSea, I'm not sure. Maybe that's very recent, but just to let you know.
Yeah. So I placed a few bids just because I wanted to kind of test it out. So here it looks like there's five items for sale. It looks like, so let's see if we go to the sales.
I think we need to do an a Blur how-to, man, because I look at this interface and my head starts spinning, man. And I think for a lot of us have never used Blur. And I think it's really, we maybe need to do some how-tos here, man.
Yeah, I think so as well. But should be interesting, right? There's a top bid of 0.05. You got 114 supply, 19 owners. So there has been some bids that have happened. Let me see the sales. So there was a bunch of sales at 0.05 recently. So they're resetting the floor. It looks like it was just one person selling into one of the bid farmers, but yeah, something that we're gonna have to follow and test out over a while. Another cool thing, right? We have our legacy migration next week. That's the big one. That's going to be a multi-week or month-long process.
Hopefully it's only a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, our legacy collection is 50,000 NFTs spread across 12 different blockchains. And it's been a mess because it was deployed in 2020. So in order for us to create a more efficient market, we're taking this 50,000 NFT collection and we're basically migrating them or upgrading them to about 30 to 35 individual curated collections. So similar to like what you see with BRC20 and cursed ordinals and ETHscriptions and rare Pepes. We're doing that with this entire collection. There's going to be a handful that are called project-based curated collections, and then a handful that are protocol-based curated collections. So the protocol ones would be like Counterparty, Doge Party, Namecoin, Ordinals, etc. And then the project-based ones are things like rare Pepes, fake rares, Bitcoin punks, 12-fold. There's a handful of them on there. I'll have to pull up the sheet, but I'm excited to see what kind of technology comes afterwards, because we're in a lot of different conversations for how to create decentralized vaults and how to do memeify. We had a cool conversation. When was that? Was that yesterday or 2 days ago, Adam? The Pepe one that we had?
It's all blurring, man. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting conversations happening. You know, not to be like, I don't know, it's like people like build in the bear, and like, it's true. It's really hard, you know, in a way to build in the bear, because you don't necessarily see the interaction with, you know, the projects that you're building. But, you know, I'm hopeful that doing these sort of things now, while there isn't a lot of us here, when a lot of people come in the next wave, having this kind of infrastructure built is it's not only going to be good for Emblem Vault, but just good for all these communities that have kind of supported it through the bear market. I think will be it'll be fun to take part in that for sure. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it is. I guess that's why the market's probably so volatile and why people probably get so wealthy. It's the ones who actually built in the bear market, so that when the eyeballs and the momentum and attention comes back, you have a working product. It is probably very difficult to build in the middle of a massive bull market when the price is just continually going up. I think it's just a different game that's being played, because there's so much demand that you probably can't make too many tweaks to begin with, because you have thousands of users using your product, or even tens of thousands, or if you're OpenSea, literally millions of people. I think we've seen most of the OpenSea upgrades happen after the Terra Luna collapse has fallen out. So I guess this is kind of our first time as a builder through the ringer. But again, right, it's just like, this is how the BRC20 thing happened. So much hype, so much attention. All these posts are getting 100,000 views. Everyone's getting followers. All these companies are reaching out, showing interest. And then you launch it and everyone's just staring at it.
Don't you know social media is fake, bro? It is funny to watch, but you never know, man. You never know in this space, really in any space. But look, there aren't that many of us here. Even in all of crypto, there aren't that many people here. I mean, I think last night with Vitalik on the Twitter space, with ORDI, you know, 3,000 people in the space, bro. That's crypto Twitter right now. It's basically 3,000 of us. I mean, we could say, oh, there's 10 times that. Okay, maybe there's 30,000 of us, maybe. Okay, that's smaller than the town I grew up in, right? That's not that many people on a global scale, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying we don't have a lot of capital. We do. We're one of the wealthiest kind of small groups of people in the world, I'd say, maybe the wealthiest. So we can spend $30 million on Azukis, right? And waste money, you know, and do stupid stuff. But I think that's all because we believe that like this Web3 future in crypto is going to be so huge that it doesn't really even matter, right? And so, yeah, it's interesting to think about all the different factors, but yeah, there just aren't that many of us here, I don't think, right now.
What was your biggest takeaway from that space? Because I was kind of tuning in and out. I know it got rugged a few times, or maybe just Udi's connection was bad and he was blaming it on Twitter. But what was the biggest takeaway? My
takeaway number one is Vitalik is the greatest founder other than Satoshi, and the only reason he's not as good as Satoshi is Satoshi's not here. Vitalik is just the biggest mensch, man. He's so cool to come on that space, talk honestly about Bitcoin. I think for a lot of people who were listening, that might have been the first time they ever heard that Vitalik was basically driven out of Bitcoin, and that's why he started Ethereum. I think a lot of people, that was almost news to them. And of course, him commenting that he thought Ordinals, you know, in the development of the Ordinal protocol had spurned this like building again on Bitcoin culture was really cool to hear it out of his mouth. I mean, we all know that intuitively because we've been in this space and we're following what's happening. But for him to recognize that and to call out Maxi Laser Eye culture for what it is, and you know, be positive about builders coming back to Bitcoin, I think was the key takeaway.
Yeah, I've been doing my own research on like the history of Bitcoin protocols, and I didn't even know that he had written the colored coins white paper too back in 2012.
Dude, he was there for it, man.
I did not know that he was one of the original leaders.
You look at his, I mean, he had the vision right from very early when these guys were kind of kicking around this idea, trying to make it work. And I tweeted, or I DM'd Udi, because, you know, they weren't letting anybody on stage. I was like, Udi, man, ask him if he feels like ordinals are the, you know, are colored coins, you know, 2.0. It's like the better version of colored coin. Udi didn't ask, but that's something I would have loved to hear, you know, how it kind of vibed with him, because they were really, that's what they were trying to build this. They were trying to build ordinals, you know, with colored coins. It's the exact same thing. Just layered on a little bit different.
Yeah, just using Taproot and SegWit instead, because that didn't exist back then. I believe too, a lot of people didn't know that Vitalik, I don't know if he was a co-founder of Bitcoin Magazine or he just worked there. I know that was like his first job. Do you know if?
Yeah, he worked there, basically got a job writing articles for him. It would be paid in Bitcoin, literally like 4 Bitcoin per article, which was like $3.75. And they actually did something really innovative, which was you could read part of the article and then they basically had to crowdsource, you know, 2 or 3 more Bitcoin in order for the community to be able to read the rest of the article. So, you know, he's been around. He's super, dude, he's an OG Bitcoiner at core, really.
It's funny because I live out in Vegas. Matt Bitcoins lives out here, so I hang out with him every once in a while. He's been on his show. And some of the stories he's told me of like when they would go, they would have Vitalik in the like back of their car traveling to like these Bitcoin conferences and talking about how Vitalik was always like the quiet one. And a lot of the Bitcoiners back then believed in him, but nobody wanted to say anything. So he was kind of like really exiled from it. And because people were really fearful to kind of speak out against Bitcoin at the time. But, you know, he put the white paper out in 2013, mentioned Namecoin as non-fungible assets, right? That's kind of one of the claims that the Namecoiners use a lot as the first NFTs, quote unquote, or whatever you call it, non-fungible assets. Really pioneer. I don't know how this guy thought of everything back then, but the one thing that I admire from him is that he was able to take this like kind of outsider weird culture and then be able to have it embraced on ETH. I think that's what really has assisted with the like large amount of growth of developer activity over there, right? A lot of devs are just weird. Sorry to say, guys. Sorry to say if you're a dev out there.
No, I think him being a little bit on the spectrum or whatever is absolutely critical for his success. Like, not only that he's genius, but that he can't be deterred from his vision. I think Peter Thiel said it best with like, you know, why is like a disproportional amount of founders kind of on the spectrum? And it's just because they won't be deterred from their vision by rational arguments from other people, you know, and, you know, him being that little bit of crazy, you know, and I mean that in the best of ways, but him showing up at ETH Denver in like a furry suit and stuff like this, kind of like, you can't stop it. You can't stop that, right? You can't talk him out of that. And it's been obviously for Ethereum, it's worked wonders.
Yeah, excited to see where Ethereum goes. I wanted to go back a little bit. I saw that there was a Nakamoto card sale today or yesterday, I think, for 53 ETH around on X2Y2. That was the first one that we'd seen in a while. But I really enjoyed that Pepe call or spaces that we had set up with the NFT price floor. Alex Gosman was there from NFTX, Joe Looney, Skrilla, Adam was there, and I think a few others. And just getting everyone together, it generally happens like once a month, I think, or so. It's just really cool to see where the vision is and all the appreciation. I really like talking with Alex because he had brought up, we had hopped on a call with him. I don't know, was that like maybe a month ago? He's the founder of NFTX, if you ever use that. And we explored this idea of like rare Pepe liquidity pools and how NFTX is built. The product has to be on chain. And so with our new migration, a lot of that is on chain. And he kind of really highlighted the ability that with the current legacy structure, can't really do anything. But with this new migration, we're going to have 22,000 rare Pepes in this single collection. And now we really can start building out this idea of like MemeFi, right? Memetic finance, of building staking protocols or different types of fractionalization, or on the rare Pepe or on the curated collection, there's the Feels Good Man Redemption project is interesting as well. You get tokens based off your Feels Good Man, which was built out. And I'm excited to see where the community takes that, because the Rare Pepe community is always much further ahead when it comes to cultural kind of ideas and epiphanies. Dogfather, go ahead.
Yeah, the fun part I liked a lot in the Ordinals show and the last one was when the fake rare people, in particular Eni, was kind of talking Leo and Bitcoin into making a fake Pepe. I think that was hilarious, and they were really thinking about it. So you see that these communities come together, and in particular the fake rabbi people are super open, and invite these type of non-artists doing something, becoming artists, and working together, collaborating. That's really great to see.
Yeah, we also talk with Fake Annie semi-often as well with Jason Williams. He's got like one of the largest Rare Pepe collections. That guy's got a huge collection, to try to get some of those vaulted as well. I'm interested to see post-migration what percentage of unique Rare Pepes we'll end up with. If you had to take a guess, Adam, what do you think? Right, there's 22,000 Rare Pepes. We currently have about 215 unique ones on the collection right now. There's 1,774 total.
So you cut out there for a sec. What were you asking?
What do you think post-migration? What do you think? How many unique cards do you think we get on that curated collection?
Never all of them, right? Somebody DM'd me or tweeted at me and said, when Homer Pepe? I said, from your mouth to God ears, man. Let's hope it comes on. It's going to be, who knows, probably a few hundred, right? Again, it's this chicken egg thing, right? During the bear market, people aren't compelled to vault new interesting ones, right? But I think what will happen, I'm convinced, during the next kind of uptick in NFTs, and obviously then interest in Rare Pepes, it's just going to happen, right? We're just going to see, as people want to access that liquidity, want to sell their Rare Pepes, sell some of those heavy bags, they'll come over. It's just a matter of when.
Next bull run, we'll see $1 million Rare Pepe sale on the curated collection. might be.
No, they'll figure out a way to scoot the royalties, man. You know the way these guys work, man.
Yeah, it's always the ones who use X2Y2, and then they message me asking me to retweet it. I'm like, why would
yeah, right.
Why would I retweet you undercutting me? Never fails.
It does cost money, believe it or not, to run this organization, but whatever. People are gonna do what they do, bro. They're gonna do what they do.
Yeah, when, right? Kind of fun. I don't think we talked about this enough as well, about the BRC20, going back to it a little bit, X2Y2, X2Fi. They're creating an NFT Fi platform. It's pretty interesting. I was experimenting with it the other day. So they reached out to us. They actually want to create like a specific kind of curation for Emblem Vault in general, for the post migration. They want to support like most of the 35 collections. I think also NFT Fi and Arcade are also highly interested as well. So you're going to see huge liquidity unlock here. But the thing though is usually you don't see as much leverage being taken out at the bottom of a market. It's generally once you're on the upswing. So again, it's going to be kind of one of those situations where it's everything set in place waiting. But with X2Fi, right, they want to add support for BRC20s. And their platform is a little interesting. I don't know if you've explored it. So they just opened up borrowing and lending for Pepe and for Sheeb, 2 meme coins. And what they did is you deposit, you could deposit 5 different increments of amounts of Pepe. Forget the numbers because Pepe is like quadrillions amounts or whatever it is. But they give you an NFT on the other side. And then the NFT is like kind of like your redemption or what you borrow against, because they're creating this idea of like NFT Fi, where everything is based, all the financial tokenomics is all based around NFTs. So I thought it was kind of interesting. If you go on the page, I'll pull it up here in a second. If you go on the page, it's a little bit confusing in essence, but I don't know, man. I think it's going to be interesting. Again, right? The BRC20 is a little bit the interest is a little bit lower at this point in time. But excuse me, sorry, typing the password.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is like the dream of a lot of collectors, is to be able to access liquidity without selling their NFTs, right? And so I know a lot of big collectors who have literally millions and millions, you know, decamillions of dollars worth of NFTs, and then being able to take loans against them is a big deal. I mean, so, you know, I know we're at the baby steps. Most people in this space have probably never even taken a loan against an NFT. I've never taken a loan against an NFT. But I know it's something that people want, you know, whether that collapses the floor price or I don't even know what, that's very possible. But look, you can't stop this stuff. This is like, people want this stuff. So here it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right here. So you can see right here. So Pepe 100 billion, there's Pepe 10 billion and Pepe 1 billion. And so you come down here and so you put it in different increments. And we might have to do this with the BRC21 as well. So for different increments. And then they give you this NFT that represents the loan value, and it's all done in USDC. So you can see this 100 billion X2Fi loan is worth $76,000, and it's a 3-day loan duration. It's interesting, right?
What do you think that guy's doing with that amount of money for that? 3 days, dude. 3 days. What are you doing, man? It's incredible, dude. These traders, man.
It's just levered up degens for the most part. Or, oh, wow, they already have the ORDI one up. There you go. ORDI 200. So they added that. They have the OXBT 200. That was pretty quick. I'm going to have to tweet about that at some point. But maybe the idea is then we have to create like an ORDI, 2000, right? Because the ORDI at 200 is 1200. You do an ORDI 2000, then maybe that's the right way to get more liquidity. So we'll have to explore that. Wow. Props to you, X2I2, if you're listening here. That was quick. That was a lot faster than I expected. So already live. You get the alpha here. Cool stuff, right?
Amazing.
Then it's like, what other kind of DeFi degen stuff can you do? Somebody did reach out to me. You want to hear crazy things? Somebody has a cursed BRC20, and they're interested in fractionalizing it and then doing an ERC20 cursed representative of their BRC20. Just love the experimentation, whether it works or not. It's at least fun.
We had talked about the cursed BRC20s and how ORDI was going to handle it. And I don't even know if they've figured out what they're going to do with those yet, other than maybe ignore them. Because you think about it, like, dude, the negative numbers are before the positive numbers. So if you have a, negative ORDI, Jesus Christ, it's like, whoa. You could get into some hairy stuff there. It could get a little bit complex and little bad quick.
Little bad. Yeah, I mean, these like fun experiments, they tend to fade pretty quickly. But I know you were talking about this on Trevor's show last night, that these type of experiments, whether they work or not, it just shows you what you can do. And then it's this like gradual, incremental growth in the industry, because you get to look back and say, hey, this worked, this didn't work. Or maybe this worked, but it was the wrong time. So maybe now that there's a larger audience, it's time to work. It's time to try it again. And generally it'll hit later.
Yeah. I mean, I look at that it'll generally hit later, or ideas that maybe aren't working today will work 5 years down the road. I mean, we've seen that again and again, just studying historical NFTs, how ideas just can take, 5 years or more to like come to fruition and meet, the market along with the product at the right time. But it is a special time, like as far as most of these infrastructures are built. And so I was on a show earlier today with BitGod talking about Tokenly, right? And how what Adam did back in 2016 and 17 was amazing at that time, because like none of the infrastructure was built to like support him. But now, like you could spin up a Tokenly again in a week, It's just a question of where you want to do it, right? Do you want to do it on ETH or Sol, or somehow cobble it together on Bitcoin, or whatever you want to do, right? It's like, I just think like ideas that that kind of worked. Like Adam had success. He was actually able to sell Tokenly, but still most of us didn't really use it. It wasn't big. Like it could actually be huge today if somebody could pull that off, you know, and there are lots of ideas like that. It's just going to take the right, you know, individual or team to put the next big thing together, man.
Yeah, I give BitGod props. He actually knows like a good amount of history with when it comes to like the Bitcoin ecosystem, which I think is really important. How did Tokenly get brought up? Was that just was Adam on the call?
No, it was just like people. We were talking about building, right? Building during. I'm using air quotes here. Building during a bear market, which we talk about often. And somebody made the point. Well, developers, you know, building these kind of infrastructure layers on Bitcoin, for example, with Ordinals, how does that help anybody? And I was like, actually, it doesn't help the kind of consumer, but what it does is it lays this foundation for people to build cool projects, right? And that's when I got on the Tokenly. I give that as an example of something that was done and was, you know, moderately successful in, you know, 2016 and 17, which could be hugely successful today if done in, you know, the right way. So we just got on that. Like, I was just trying to give it a little bit of a historical bend on something that, you know, could work today if it was done kind of effectively.
Yeah, I tried to explore that a little bit before Emblem really started taking off. It's tough. I think the ability to like tokenize a show or a podcast and explore this world of like tokenized media is there. I think it's definitely going to be a massive industry. But even look at like NFT Now, which is probably the largest NFT publication company. Their NFT Now passes down just as bad as everyone else's. And I think they're still also going through some of those. They're still going through some of those hurdles to figure out like kind of what tokenized media even is. My exploration was kind of this idea of issuing a token against your show, which then it represents like that relationship with somebody, which then you could go do all kinds of different things with, right? It's like a membership to each type of relationship. So tokenizing relationships is cool. But I know Let's Talk Bitcoin back then, they explored a lot of different things. And there was a lot of leaders that came out of that community. Although the community is probably like 20 people because it was in 2014.
Well, that's the thing, right? The community was literally like 100 people, but it worked, you know? I mean, I look at it when I describe it to like normies, it's like, you know, imagine a tokenized YouTube where, you know, ad revenue comes in and then it gets dispersed through tokenomics to the biggest, you know, creators on the platform, right? It would make sense. It totally makes sense. But, you know, building it and pulling it off and attracting attention, woo, bro. I mean, look, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd create that today because that's like $1 trillion, you know, company. But bro, that's hard.
Really speaking of attracting new attention and hype and social tokens and stuff, I tweeted this the other day that I think the next bull run, social tokens are going to do very well on Threads. Just as like NFTs were kind of the hype on Twitter. I've been dabbling around on Threads. I have to say I minted a sub 1 million Thread profile. So that's going to be my Instagram is now going to be a historical NFT. They kind of did it smart. I don't know if you've dabbled on it, but it's attached to your Instagram. So they actually kind of front ran the ENS narrative of having your handle be used for multiple platforms. But on your Instagram, they put the number that you that you registered. So I was like number like 500,000 or something, and now it's at like 30 million. Right, so it's just like the ordinal space.
Dude, I literally went on there, connected my Instagram account, made one post, and then I was like, I'm out. I'm not playing this game again. I'm not chasing another social platform. You know, if everybody leaves Twitter, obviously I'll have to leave Twitter as well. But yeah, I can't chase anymore, man. I'm done.
I've been having fun going back and forth. I've been kind of playing this like this role of saying like this Threads account is my Twitter alt account, right? I'm playing the opposite, which is everyone who had an Instagram account would create a Twitter and say this is my pseudonymous account, although it's my name as well. But I'm seeing a lot of like my high school friends and college friends and stuff, and I'm also seeing the NFT people play the same exact engagement farming game they play over here, and I've muted all of them.
Dude, I'm just like so not into it. Like I just can't even imagine. It's just, yeah, I've done so many different social platforms in my life, and it's like to try and get the next big one. Like, do I think Threads is going to be it? No, but I could be wrong. I tweeted just before we came on. I was like, I think the Elon versus Zuck, cage match should be winner take all. Elon gets Instagram or Zuck gets Twitter. I think that would be amazing. Clarify it for all of us so we don't have to manage 10 different social platforms.
I think the crypto community is literally one crypto integration away on Twitter from just deleting Threads altogether. It'll happen and everyone will move over, and then Elon will tweet some scandalous shit and everyone will move back to Threads.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that most normies are just not on Twitter. Like almost none of my friends and family actually use Twitter at all. Like zero, but they do use Instagram. So who knows, man?
I don't know if the world's ready for a Twitter like app to have 2 billion people on it. The world's already frustrated with 200 million people on Twitter tweeting their thoughts. I couldn't imagine 2 billion people throwing their opinions out.
Dude, and you saw people getting their posts and stuff taken down all the time
Already.
I mean, for like not crazy stuff, but it's like, yeah, the full censorship game is alive and well on Insta right now.
I find it really hard that crypto is going to actually move away from Twitter. There's so much cultural history there, and we've learned this through just studying historical NFTs, that once a culture is built somewhere, man, it is really hard to migrate that away. Just like the Pepe community had kind of built this this culture on Bitcoin, and that the Dink memes are always going to be on Bitcoin. And I just find it hard for something like that to happen. I find it hard for crypto to move away from Twitter. Actually saw a stat the other day too, that the largest community on Twitter is actually the crypto community. It was like around I don't know what it was, 40 million or something like that, 50 million, something like that, which sounds great.
Those are fake numbers, bro.
Yeah.
40 million people, bro. There's no way.
Or
I
at
mean,
least
I know half of like social media is more than half is fake. Probably 90% is fake, but those are made up numbers. There's no way there are 40 million people in crypto. Impossible. Dude.
They could just say,
I just know there's zero. That's just not true. This is not true.
Maybe it's the hexagon PFPs, right? Which is just spun up probably by fake people to begin with. But I think it was crypto, finance, and sports, I believe, were like the three biggest communities on Twitter. If you go over to Threads, it's probably going to be like IG models, Amazon, what is it, the Amazon shippers, right? And the
drop shippers.
Drop shippers, yeah. That's why,
dude, it's so funny, man. It is funny, our world right now. That's for sure, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's definitely going to be some types of like cross promotion that can happen, and I'm trying to figure out like what that medium is, right? I know I've strictly not posted crypto stuff on there. Kind of related, but nothing like super in depth, where when I ever run into my friends, they're like, I have no idea what you're tweeting. It's literally like you're not even speaking English.
What is BRC20? What's a wallet? And what the hell are you talking about, bro?
Speaking of BRC20, there was a crypto, at least I think so, reached out to me on Twitter yesterday talking about BRC20s. They wanted to do like an interview. And one of the questions was, how would you describe BRC20s, and what would you think that they're closely related to? And this is what made me think like, this is actually like a real crypto publication, because we get the scam ones in Discord all the time. And I told them, I said, I actually think BRC20s are a fourth type of asset class, which we haven't seen before. And I know a lot of people are bearish on BRC20s, but for me in crypto, you see these like very obscure asset classes really take off. And so what I mean by this is you have ERC20s, which is fungible tokens, which is also cryptocurrencies. They're all kind of the same thing. You have ERC721s, which are NFTs, which are also ordinals, or like the PFP type ordinals. You have ERC1155s, which are semi-fungible tokens, which are rare Pepes, things on Doge Party, open editions. Those are all ERC1155s. And I don't think BRC20s sit in any of these. I don't think they're any of these. I like to call them kind of these like composable semi-fungible tokens. I think they're mostly related to ERC 1155s. But the difference here, though, is that with BRC20s, right, there's kind of there's a total supply. Like we'll use OXBT, or I'll use ORDI, for example. It's 21 million of these, right? But there's never a set amount of how many underlying ordinals can exist because they're consistently changing, right? So, for example, if I owned the entire supply of ORDI of 21 million, I could create 21 million one ORDI transfer inscriptions, right? Or I could do 10 2.1 million, right? Transfer inscriptions that all hold these. So that kind of dynamic is always consistently changing. And so I don't think it really fits into any of these, but there's always going to be that supply of 21 million. And so I was trying to really explain this to the, I almost said who it was. I was trying to explain this to the publication as best as I could. And so I wonder if they'll use it, because that single concept is one thing that makes me really bullish on BRC20s, right? Or it could just be the reason why they just don't succeed at all. But having a fourth type of asset class like that, I think it just leads to many, many more types of examples and experimentations of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me too, the way it's pioneered this kind of free mint thing was a big deal as well. Certainly from an adoption standpoint, this ability to, for these to be very fairly distributed through a free mint like this is somewhat revolutionary, right? It started kind of with Bitcoin punks and moved to the BRC20s, and this is kind of like a new model that wasn't available before, and has been it's been awesome to watch that for sure.
Decentralized mints, BRC20s, those are kind of my favorite things to come out of Ordinals so far. I don't think, like, I guess putting an inscription on a sat is cool, but in terms of things that can exist outside of Bitcoin as well and then be moved on to other chains, you're already seeing it with LTC20s and DRC20s. SRC20s are back, right? They're still trying to figure out their thing as well. Crazy experiment. Eventually we'll get XMR20s, right? I think more Ordinals do exist though. That'll be interesting. Fungible tokens on, I always found it funny doing Ordinals on Moreno because it's private. So it's like, do they even exist?
Dude, how do we know, right? No, but fungible tokens on Bitcoin is the most hilarious thing ever. I mean, that's the best.
Yeah.
Super mean.
So and then in that interview, it came back to like, how does the BRC20 curated collection impact this? And I was like, well, here, the whole idea is we're really going to test, are these fungible tokens? Are these NFTs? Or are they something else? And so we're trying to really create just the fungible version of this, where they're all the same amount across the board, so that it isn't really impacted by the blur farming. Like, yes, people could bid on them, and people can sell to the lowest bidder, because there are bids. There's active bids that are open. There's people who aren't purchasing on Unisat, but there you could go sell your BRC20 on Blur right now for 0.05 ETH, which is, I don't know, 50 or 60 bucks. But if you go list that on Unisat right now, maybe you don't have a buyer. Right now, you could go get instant liquidity. So that's kind of like a cool option. But it's not, but because there's no rares and no floors, I don't think the Blur farmers can really just take a hold of this and then go with the kind of incremental price decrease. Isn't that whole like Trevor's whole thesis?
Yeah. I mean, I talked multiple times on the spaces about this with the people who wrote, actually the guy who wrote that article got picked up by NFT Now and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, he doesn't think BRC20 is the way we're doing it, because we have treated it, or trying to treat it like fungible tokens. It's probably not possible to do that kind of like race to the bottom for BRC20s on Blur. And of course, then it has the whole advantage of there's a whole nother marketplace on Bitcoin that they can always be brought back to. So you can only get so much price discrepancy before people will just migrate it back, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm most excited for. I really want to see ORDI get a larger supply. I think the goal would probably to get like at least $1 million in liquidity over there. I think is enough for a bear market niche community to kind of participate in active trading. It's going to be a little bit tough. Maybe I'm just going to have to port over all my OXBT and
Dude, you
call
just
it.
got to bring it all over, bro.
I'll
You guys
sit-
don't know Jake's a whale over here, dude. Early and often, baby.
I gamed the system in the beginning. Sorry, BitGod. Or I guess Luminex is actually I'm releasing. I recorded with Jerry, who's one of the co-founders of Luminex, and I told him the whole way of how I gamed the OXBT thing, and apparently he never thought about it. I was like, how did you not think about this? No wonder why people are manipulating this. That was like the most obvious.
You can't know what you don't know, right? It's just like you'd think they would know, but bro, you beat the system. Congrats. Bro.
Yeah, I tell him live on the podcast, so you'll hear his response to that afterwards. I hope he cleans it up, but I was like, this was the most obvious way to game this. So hopefully they fix it because MXRC, which I also recorded with Good, which will come out after, they were the ones that were largely impacted by that, by people botting it, because I guess that probably same loophole they hadn't thought about. So yeah, you hate to see creators get put in a position to where it's not really their fault.
Are they calling it the gallon exploit? You exposed it, and then everybody was ready. They were ready with the bots the second time around. It just completely did it, right?
Yeah, I know there was multiple people who also did the same thing. And so basically what I did, I've said this on camera too. And I'm just very open about it. If there's something that could be gamed, I think people should be aware of it, or at least.
Yeah, dude, I think you talked about it like the day you did it, or the day after you told people how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, basically it all surrounds this like the like invoice deposit on Luminex. So on Luminex, they're integrated into Xverse, or you can kind of send money into this Bitcoin wallet. And I realized very early that once you transact through the integrated Xverse app, then it basically says that you can't mint anything else because your wallet's been used. But if you send money into this deposit address, I sent in like $500 worth of Bitcoin. You can put in your wallet address, and then it would verify if that wallet address has been used or not. So I basically just opened up Unisat and just kept opening new wallets and just kept putting in new ones and refreshing the page. And kid you not, 17 wallets later during the free event, it's like I'm into like, I don't know, 80,000 OXBT or something like that. I also put some money into it too as well. Some part of like the 100K club, I think is.
Yeah, dude, you were minting after the fact, man. You were buying off of the market.
Yeah, I do. Like, I just because BitGod was even coming on our show here early when he was like sub 1,000 followers, he was just somebody that I wanted to support as well. And I still have a big faith in him. It's interesting to see the distinction between ORDI and OXBT, and we've got to learn a lot about those communities over the last week or so, being in active, or 2 weeks after being in active communication with them. I've learned that Domo has a very large Asian following, like very, very large. And BitGod's community is very much American based for the most part, or US based. And it has a heavy ETH community, a lot of DGods, there's also a lot of Solana. So there's a lot of traders, but a lot of them who aren't really familiar with how Bitcoin actually works. And what I mean by this is when I was in the Discord yesterday, there was a bunch of people tweeting or responding to me saying they couldn't wait for Binance to launch their BRC20 product because there's going to be no transfer inscriptions. And I was like, unless they're creating some new standard, I highly doubt that's going to happen. It's just like you're talking to them and they're just not really understanding the Bitcoin side of it is like a big issue.
Yep.
And
yeah, they love, well, I mean, yeah, to get the whole kind of Asian community, I mean, you see what's going on. They like to get something basically free that they can then flip out of. I mean, who doesn't, right? But it's just how often can you get stuff for literally free and then it be worth, I don't know what a run up to $28. I mean, that's like a miracle, right? That's like a once in a lifetime thing, Mm-hmm. So it's not it's very easy to see how that's crashed back down, but even crashed back down, it's still, I'm using air quotes again, but it's like, it still has quite a bit of value. So it's definitely not at 0. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's at 5 cents. So right, still 5x from free. I guess free would be much more than that, but you're paying, I think it was like $10 in minting fees, and you got 5,000, right? So it's up, I don't know, 10x from the free mint literally 2 months ago. So you can't hate it. But even outside of the kind of communities, the interest levels from different communities was interesting as well. It seems like the marketplaces and the protocols are more interested in ORDI, because it's probably just because it's a larger market cap, honestly, right? The simple just comes down to dollars. Marketplaces, they see an opportunity to kind of capitalize on this, and they're like, we want ORDI. And then with BitGod, right, they're a team. And so they have a much different agenda than kind of what Domo has. And even talking with Domo this morning, right, he was saying like he was surprised. He was also surprised that there hadn't been a decent amount of ORDIs vaulted as well. And so he said he was going to vault some. But again, he also said too, it just comes down to momentum, right? And he said also like the loans will probably assist with it as well. And he's a leader. He doesn't want to, he wants it to be as open as possible. He doesn't want to direct it. And I didn't even realize this. He said the giveaway that he did with ORDI was only the 3rd time he's ever mentioned ORDI on his Twitter account, which I hadn't realized.
Is that really? That's amazing.
Yeah. So he said he's really trying to be hands off, but he's tried to do just like the infrastructure side to it, which I commend him, man. Right? It's ORDI's just like, it's kind of like Bitcoin. It's just the treasury. It's just the reserve. And it's held up really well. It's been sitting around $6 for quite a while now since that downturn.
Well, it has the nice narrative, right? Which collectors like the idea of the first, and therefore they want it, and therefore it's the highest market cap, and therefore the marketplaces want it, and so it's the virtuous circle.
Yeah, and there's no hype mechanics to it because BitGod has to kind of play into this. If you have this community and you're a team, you got to get people excited. You got to get people.
Bro, they want the roadmap. They want. It's literally. I feel bad for the dude in some respects because I realize that's got to be really tough, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the community when I was in there, it sounded like there was some frustrations surrounding the mystery of what the project is, because he has OXBT, which is the utility. They're phrasing as the utility token of the ecosystem. And then they have redacted BTC, which is, I believe, their NFT project that they're planning on doing. And he hasn't been able to I guess, mention what they're specifically doing. And the community gets frustrated. But again, and it's literally been a month, maybe 6 weeks since this whole thing started. It's the win-win-win crowd. It's my favorite.
When, Jake? Thank God we didn't do a token, man.
Yeah, we do have.
I mean, it literally never. He realizes he's hitched his train to a forever thing, right? Even though he didn't charge anything for it, it was a free mint. I mean, imagine a free mint where people are bitching about the price. Gosh, dang it, that's rough, man.
Yeah, on the other side too, I've been talking with Good from MXRC. They're the second one for the Luminex Launchpad. Also a huge community as well. They launched something pretty unique, actually. I'm gonna see if I could find this on here, which I've been following because I've also been buying into them. My philosophy is just kind of follow founders that you like, and then just kind of go from there. At least in this kind of early stage. I'm just buying I'm buying for people that I like and that I follow. So this Meta BRC thing, they're doing an ordinal ID system. It's quite unique, actually. So custom traits. And basically what they're doing here was the top 775 holders, based off of 3 different scales, will be able to mint 1, 2, or 3 of these. They're calling them the Ordinals. And here you're going to be able to basically create your own custom ID, which is the ecosystem, which is, I guess, going to be like the PFP or something for their ecosystem. And so he's kind of doing something cool of kind of turning it around from this. Here it is, the Meta ID Ordinals. I haven't really seen anything like this. And it's building the biggest decentralized identity community. And it's 10K. Or no, it says, it goes down here and says that the ID is made up of different backgrounds and varying rarities. The collection has a set of traits such as eyes, clothing, and human elements. There's going to be some special traits. And then by integrating all these traits and elements, individuals receive a unique meta BRC Ordinals ID that captures the essence of an open and decentralized community, like the ID. And there's going to be a QR code associated with it, and they're going to mint these on different types of rare sats. And to me, I appreciated it because it's just they're in a pretty shitty situation from the Luminex thing, and everyone had written them off, and they're really kind of building themselves out of this whole entire thing, which, you know, I got to commend them.
Wait, what happened with the Luminex thing? I must have missed that.
They were the botted one. So they followed BitGod on the Luminex launchpad, and the exploit that I had mentioned was probably what had been exploited, and I think of some bots had picked up.
Yeah. No, I remember now. People thought the team botted it.
Yeah, they were saying that the team botted themselves, and that Luminex was in on it, and it was also a free mint, right? So they didn't make any money off of it. And then you had some of the influencers and people or the community kind of coming after them. And I had bought some originally to mint, and then I recorded with Good, and I liked what he had to say. And seeing some of the stuff that they're doing, it's more than the majority of the BRC things. So basically, you have to, I think it's 10,000 MXRC you burn it to get this ordinal, to kind of decrease some of the supply already as well. And so I just found it kind of interesting. And I was trying to let you up, Sen. I don't know if you're on a desktop or not, but it wasn't letting me let you up there. So these, like in the BRC20 ecosystem I'm following, I know like Track is all the Rarity Garden people. Their tokens also been on fire recently. They're trying to build like a decentralized indexer, which I think they're building for Bitmap itself, which is kind of like a whole thing.
Bro, I've heard enough devs talking to know that the decentralized indexers on the verge of impossible, but I know people are trying to do it, man. But I heard it's darn near right on the verge of the impossible.
I believe it has to be on layer 2 from my understanding. One of my devs even made me an infographic of how it's pretty much impossible to do. But I mean, Domo, we got to talk with him, and he was he's now has an advisory role with Alex Bridge, which is on Stacks. So how it's going to work, I actually have no idea. I thought this cool, interesting idea is like if you put an indexer on chain, first it's like quite expensive from what I hear, and then there's also like an incentive layer. I was like, what if you like created a BRC20 that rewarded people for using your on-chain indexer, right? You could create some sort of incentive model there. I think is a possibility, which I think some people are exploring, which is interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Should be fun. And I guess I want to close this up with one final conversation, which I found kind of interesting. And I think we talked about this briefly, I think last week. If I was a miner right now, I would be running and racing to create an Ordinals future product, right? Think about it. This idea, if I was mining and getting block rewards, you could essentially sell space to like the bitmap that you're about to mine, or you could sell your future uncommons that you're going to mine, or these like rare sats ahead of time to subsidize, your payments. So you don't actually have to sell your miners. You're just selling your future ordinal rewards. If I was a miner, I would be racing to do this. Maybe we should start our own mining
company. I mean, I think there are a couple miners, deeply involved in kind of, harvesting rare sats and stuff like this. But yeah, we're early days still, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I got too many ideas. Sorry, I'm only got to start its own inscription service just to get it to get them all out there. Although I know that's kind of tough. And inscription service industry is also quite large. It's quite bloated now at this point in time. But I don't know, man. Maybe we should close it up here with a little quick episode. We got no Hoarder's Corner.
It's funny that a quick episode is, hour and a half, but yeah, we're so used to fucking 4-hour Twitter spaces that an hour and a half show is like, oh man, this is like light. I'm telling you, I think we should do a show that's like 10 minutes in the morning, man. It's like 10 minutes. People are like 10 minutes. What the fuck? Yeah, that's what I think we should do next, man. The 10-minute show on Twitter.
I mean, NFT Statistics does the 10 to 15 minute one for proof about just doing like the overall NFT review, and it's pretty big. So
did you see? But did you see his like state of the moon birds or whatever little tweet?
what is it?
Oh man, they're in trouble, bro. They're in trouble, big trouble. It's funny. I mean, you think about like I think Kevin Rose is like he is what he is. I mean, he's basically at this point he's basically a podcaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he was early tech, so you know he gets kind of this pass. But to think like the amount of money that they took in, literally $100 million at least or more, and their roadmap is basically just shilling new artists to their existing holders. Like that is the reward mechanism, is that you get the opportunity as a holder to buy this art first. That's their whole model. Is amazing. Like that they haven't like expanded that. I mean, dude, that's like the model from literally like 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. Like that they think that is an appropriate model going forward with $100 million in the bank is it's staggering. Like I can't believe that he hasn't got some new blood in there to think outside of the box and do some stuff that's a little bit innovative, a little bit fun. You know, I don't know. It's amazing. I mean, I guess this is the way it is when you start getting into large organizations. They get top heavy and they get bureaucratic and you can't do anything. That's very possible. But even with that, like to not just have a party in Vegas for Moonbird holders, like, dude, how much does that cost? $1 million. You could have a sick party in Vegas and everybody would be psyched about it. And it'd be fun, and there's nothing around it. It's just fun, and it would reward people. But their reward is like, oh, go buy more shit from us. It's literally, it's stunning. When I read his thread, I was like, wow, this is some tone deaf shit right here.
Damn, and that came from NFT Statistics, huh? Poor guy. I mean, he's getting paid by him, so I guess he's gonna hold on for as long as possible. Sometimes people jump ship, or they turn around. I was listening to one of their recent spaces, and he mentioned they had a dev team that was like around 10 people, something like that. It's like, what are these guys building?
So I mean, look, we see what you can do with a handful of devs, right? And we're doing 50 times more than Moonbirds. What is Moonbirds doing? Launching a new PFP collection? Get the fuck out of here, dude. Like we could launch one every day with like, our existing I mean, it's hard to fathom, and you can imagine what they're burning through. I mean, dude, that $100 million isn't going to last more than a couple of years, because with 10 devs, devs $250,000, $300,000 a year, right? You got 10 of those guys, dude. And then Kev's probably making $5 million a year. I mean, dude, it's like you just see it's the worst part of like VCs in the space, that you have that kind of, ossification and bureaucracy with literally a project that's only a couple years old. And it's like not even, and they've completely stopped innovating. They're just doing the run of the mill stuff, dumping more NFTs. It's just disappointing, really. If I was a Moonbird holder, I'd be furious, but I'm not. So I could just say I'm disappointed.
Bitcoin ordinals, man, they'll never rug you.
Free mints never rug.
I have actually seen a few wallet drainers popping up on Magic Eden that has to do with rugs. Do you know any information about that? Have you heard anyone talk about it? I've seen a few posts about it, but I guess you just got to check and see what website you're logging into.
Again, it's always the same thing. I mean, certainly it's harder on Bitcoin, but yeah, you got to be careful what you're clicking on and stuff. I've seen on-chain monkeys. There was a bot. I mean, dang, it took forever to get this account down. Somebody had obviously purchased an account with like 40,000 followers, so it looked like the founder of On-Chain Monkey, Danny's account, rather than HUEP or whatever. His HUEP, it was like HUPP or something. And I mean, it looked legit. I almost clicked on the link. It was one of those. It's like, hey, don't forget this. And it was like, sign up to join the On-Chain Monkey DAO or whatever, which could have been, something that they were working on. Like, I'm not in the Discord following everything that's happening. And yeah, some people lost their OCMs this past week. You know, it's like you got to be careful out there, man. Always.
Got to be careful, man. Speaking of being careful, one last note here too. If you are an owner of on the legacy contract, or if you're bidding, I would recommend removing all of your bids now. We'll be putting tweets out. If you have any bids on any of the legacy collection, I mean, it will be paused. Some exchange, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the exchanges to pause the contracts, to delist the collection. You know, we've reached out to all of them. There's 2 that we still haven't been able to, but it has no liquidity. But highly recommend just do not bid on any of the legacy contract.
Yeah, don't bid, delist as well. If you have something listed, delist it too, just to be safe.
Yeah, be safe, guys. But we will definitely be putting a lot of information out. Migration begins on the 12th. 5 days from now, so on Wednesday, but all the freezes will be happening on the 11th. A lot to look forward to. This conversation next week will be a few days into the migration, so we'll have a lot more information then. Dogfather, any final words before we get out of here?
No, I mean, it was a great show. Wish y'all a great weekend. Recharge a bit. So Adam, just 12 hours, right? Not 14. So be careful. Work-life balance, you know. So take care, guys. Have a great one.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I need to go to the pool or something because I've been in my room for the last 5 days. So I'm gonna go explore the weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.